So one of the first tips that I want to give, and this was not in my original list, but is a very important one, is regardless of what you're learning, regardless of what you're doing in life, even if you love it, make sure to take breaks. Make sure to have time away from this thing, whatever it is. So for example, for me, it's animation and like teaching and all of this kind of stuff. And I love it. I really, really love it. Like 2 weeks ago, we had a 13-hour class because there were so many people and they were jumping in and it was so much fun. I loved every minute of it. But there is a Drunken Sensei. Oh man, I forgot about that stream. That escaped my memory right after. Take breaks. Take time for yourself. And this, especially if you're young, this might seem like, as if I can just keep working. There's a few different reasons. One, you're going to avoid burnout. You're going to not start. If you get burnout, that's basically your body going, I need a break. And it can just ruin you both physically, mentally, and just it can make you hate the thing that you love. So watch out for burnout. The other thing though, and this is something that when I was young, I didn't think was possible. It's like, I'll just do some extra work and I'll be good and then I'll take a break later. You forget how to take a break. You forget how to have fun. You forget how to just enjoy a moment. And I'm saying this from personal experience. Because of my work schedule and because of the way I've pushed myself over the last few years, and this is like 10 years now of pushing myself, I literally cannot take a break without feeling like I'm wasting time. I cannot play a video game and just go, okay, I'm going to relax. I need to work. And this is not the like, oh yeah, just I'm busy or I like to stay active. No, this is the, if I am not working and like at work, answering emails, doing all of this kind of stuff, I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I am not doing enough. And that is something that I have learned. I have pushed myself so far that I cannot now take a break. I don't know how. My body doesn't know how. I have to try and relearn that. And that is really bad. Because, for example, last weekend, I could have taken a break. I should have taken a break. I couldn't take a break. I woke up in the morning and it's like, okay, Saturday morning, time to just relax, play some games and watch some TV. And before I realized it, I was sitting down in front of my computer working on the project that I could have started on Monday. And I couldn't stop doing that. So take it from someone who is going through that right now. Take breaks. Take time for yourself. Just play a video game, read a book, watch some TV, go outside, do something for you and just for you that isn't work. And it might seem like, but I'm not pushing enough. I'm not going to be able to be at the top of my game if I'm not pushing and I'm not going to be the best. It's not worth it. Like being the best, you're never going to be the best anyway. Everyone's got different preferences, especially in art. You could be the best animator at Disney and someone's still going to hate the film that you work on because they don't like Disney films. So regardless, like as an artist, you could be the best artist. You could draw the most, like maybe make the most awesome sculptures, like on the level of like the masters, Da Vinci and all of those. And someone will still go along and go, it's okay. I prefer that one because art is subjective. So especially for us as artists, we're never going to be the best. And all you're going to do is learn how to not live your own life and basically not have fun in your life. So take that time for yourself. Learn to enjoy life. And if you do, keep that up. don't let it fall away, because it will fall away. It will be harder and harder and harder to keep that as you go. So that's first tip here, especially for any of you who's like starting Animation Mentor. You need to take breaks. Take some time for yourself. Very, very important. Once COVID over, come to Scotland. I'll help you have the best break ever. That would be awesome. Cameron and I were supposed to go to Scotland last year, so eventually we're gonna get there. We were gonna go to Scotland and do a whole European trip, but someday we're gonna get there as soon as we can. Let's see. So I'm just catching up with the chat, make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see, the ego. If you have time to rest, you have time to work. Yes, that's a big thing. If you have time to have fun, you have time to work. If you have time for your relationship, you have time to work. Exactly. That's what ends up happening. That's the way my brain is kind of set up a lot of the time now, is if I have time to jump into a call with someone, I should be working. If I have time to sit down and watch TV, I didn't work enough. If I have time to sit down and read a book, I should be working. That's how my brain is constantly wired nowadays. And it wasn't like that before. I used to be able to just like, oh, let's go play a game, sit down and play games for hours. I can't do that anymore. It's very hard for me to work through that. And that's because I've pushed myself too far for too long. So it's very important. Very, very important. Okay. About game, do you all know that there's a new thing in the PS Store called Games from Home? Oh, nice. Oh, that's cool. They give games for free to cope with isolation. Nice. That's really nice. Come to Ohio. I'll help you perfect the art of watching paint dry. I've watched paint dry before. It's actually not bad. Now, the reason I had to watch paint dry was I accidentally painted myself. I was painting a floor and I painted myself into a corner without realizing it. And instead, I had the choice. I could either wait for the paint to dry and just watch it, or I could walk across everything that I painted and have to repaint it. So I waited. That was just stupid of me. I just didn't think. I was painting the floor, not paying attention, and then I looked up and it's like, oh, I'm in a corner and the stairs are way over there. Oops. I'll just stand here now. And the worst part was I didn't even give myself. I could have sat down, but no, I didn't. I painted myself in such a small corner that it's like, oh well. How long did I wait? It wasn't long. It was luckily fast drying paint. So I think it was like an hour or something like that. I just kind of meditated a little bit. It wasn't so bad. Build themselves into a treehouse with a drawn-on door, basically. Was Cameron watching from the other side? No, he was upstairs doing something else, but he came down and just laughed. Pointed and laughed, and then went up to keep doing more work. That was a fun day. See, this is the thing. Like for me, I like those moments because it's an experience. I got to experience watching paint dry. I never thought I would do that, honestly. You always hear people making fun of like, oh, sit down and watch paint dry, watch grass grow, and I got to do that. That was fun. I actually, on my like bucket list of moments lived, watched paint dry. Check. It's like, yeah, I like that. That's awesome. How do you feel when you saw your Sleepy Stream VOD? I haven't watched it yet. I totally forgot about the Sleepy Stream until someone mentioned it in this stream. So I'm gonna rewatch it because I have very little recollection of what was going on there. I remember being tired. I remember we were critiquing people, I think. That's all I kind of remember. So I should rewatch it, make sure that nothing terrible happened. I know I blacked out at one point where I was just like giving a critique and then like, I think my eyes were, maybe I had my eyes closed, I don't know, but I remember blacking out. When did we have, it was, I think one of the last streams we did. So maybe the last one or the one before that. If you paint miniatures, you watch them paint, or you watch paint dry all the time. Nice. I always wanted to paint miniatures. I want to do some 3D printing and painting of sculptures or like prints. So I'm going to be getting into that at some point, hopefully. But let's keep going into the tips. So we talked about taking a break. That wasn't originally on my list, but like I said, it is such an important one that all of you, like, I want you guys to take breaks. Live your life. Make sure that you're doing the things that you enjoy doing. And if you love animation and all of this, do other things as well. Just to keep your body in the habit of taking a break and walking away from these things. Your body will learn bad habits, and we don't want that to happen. So, the next tip, and many of you have heard me talk about this before, but for anyone learning a new skill, this could be animation, which is most of you, but sculpting, art, whatever. The first thing is active learning. You want to do active learning. Active learning basically means that you are not just sitting there letting the information wash over you and just kind of watching passively. You are active as you are learning any new information. You are asking yourself questions. You are writing things down. You are taking notes. Now, all of this, again, everyone learns differently. So for example, I very rarely take notes when I watch this. Or when I watch things. I'm not a very good note taker. I always have a notepad on hand, so you can see right here. This is my notepad. Like, I've just got tons of notes. I don't know, my pencil doesn't show up too well, but just like double-sided notes on notes on notes on notes. I take lots of notes, but when I'm watching something, I have a hard time taking notes because I can't write and watch at the same time. But when I am watching anything, especially when I'm trying to learn, I never just sit back and just listen. And even worse, what you don't want to do is you're watching something and then, oh, wait, I got a notification on my phone. Let's read that. Oh, wait, Facebook updated. Let's check that. Oh, YouTube. What's on there? Nah, don't do that. If you are trying to learn something, be active about it. Now, this doesn't mean you can't take breaks. So, for example, some people have a hard time focusing on something for a long period of time. I have that once in a while, where I can't just watch like a 2-hour lecture on something, or sometimes I just need to take a break. I'll do it in chunks. But whenever I'm watching that chunk, I am being active. And when they talk about something, I'm going to go, okay, why are they doing this? What's the end goal? And I try to predict it. What's going to happen if they do this? Okay, and then I watch. Oh, wait, something else happened. It makes these pathways in your brain. It makes you connect dots. If you're just watching them passively and not really thinking about what's going on, when you try to do it yourself, you're going to be following a pattern instead of knowing the reasons why they did something. And this goes for anything. When I watch cartoons, I will watch it for fun, but then later I will analyze that cartoon and try to figure out what did they do to make that work? What were they trying to achieve? When I am working on my own animation, I never work on my animation while trying to focus on something else. I will listen to music in the background. So for example, we're listening to music right now. It's just game music. I will sometimes put something on that I've seen before. So maybe like an episode of Game Grumps, or a movie that I've seen, or a TV show that I've seen many times and I know by heart. But I will never put something on that I haven't seen or that I want to pay attention to, because I should be focused on what I'm doing. And I should be asking myself questions as I'm doing it. Why am I doing this thing? Why am I moving the character the way I am? I'm always asking myself questions. What this will end up doing is make you learn faster and make you realize why you're doing things. And when something goes wrong, it'll make you realize why it went wrong and how to fix it. That's the biggest thing. If you are just doing passive learning, what's going to end up happening is you're going to make a mistake at some point. We all do. Honestly, we're always making mistakes. But you're not going to know why it happened or how to fix it. So active learning really, really helps. You need to always be asking yourself questions and trying to find an answer to it. And it takes practice to get into it. And like I said, everyone's a little different. So don't feel like you'll see sometimes people work and they'll just do like 5 hours of work. They'll sit down and they'll concentrate for that chunk of time. Some people can't do that. Sometimes you'll sit down for half an hour and then your brain's going to start to wander and you're going to want to do other things. If you know that about yourself or you discover that about yourself, find a workflow that works best for you. Work for half an hour, then take a little bit of a break. Walk around, check your phone, do all that kind of stuff, and then sit back down, and for another half hour, you're doing active learning. Don't mix them. Don't go, okay, I'm going to keep working and I'm going to look at my phone at the same time and I'm going to be watching YouTube and like talking with my friends and just kind of not really paying attention to what you're actually doing. Now, this is different if you're just kind of doodling. So sometimes when I'm drawing, for example, I just want to doodle. I'm just drawing for the fun, the experience, the meditative aspect of drawing. I want to meditate. I want to just let my cares go away. That's fine. I don't have to be active every time I'm doing these kind of things. But when you are trying to learn something new, really strive for that active learning. I play the piano whenever I feel overwhelmed. Nice. I miss playing the piano. I used to love playing the piano. Yeah, the Pomodoro technique. Exactly. For anyone who doesn't know, the Pomodoro technique is a great break versus active focus technique that is very nice. Just do a Google search for it. You'll find lots of cool timers for it. Let's see. There's a question here. What I don't like with myself or know how to get better at is how to push through when I come up to something that's blocking me. Like this run cycle I made that you looked at. I simply cannot make the right arm move exactly the same as the left, and I can't figure out why. I tried fixing it for hours, and if anything, it got worse. Okay, so that actually goes over another tip that I wanted to mention here. So we're going to kind of skip ahead, but we'll use this as a segue. There's two very important things that come in when we are learning. The first is that when you are learning, you really want to put the effort into learning on your own. Now, there's things we have to be very careful of with this. So what I mean by you want to put the effort into learning on your own is that as we are going through our artistic journeys, it is our artistic journey. It is not someone else who will do it for us. We have to put in the work. If you apply to any school, so for example, I teach at Animation Mentor, but any of the online schools, any art school, you're the one that's going to get yourself through there. If you just sit back, watch all the lectures, attend the classes and go, well, I did my work, I'm good, and I now know how to animate. No, you have to put in the actual work of animating and learning what works in animation or what works in drawing, building up that hand-eye coordination, building that muscle memory, building all of these things, this library of information in your head. It takes a lot of work. No one's going to make that except you. So you have to take control of your journey and put that work in. What that also means is that if you come across a problem, take the time to try and figure it out yourself. This is very good because it lets you learn faster. Also, at a studio, it makes you a better employee. Like if I'm at an animation studio, they don't want to hire someone who, as soon as they run into a problem, is like, oh, wait, hello, could you solve this for me? No, as an animator, part of our job is problem solving. We need to be able to solve it ourselves, or at least take the steps to try. Now, with that said, Cobra has done that. They've tried to fix it and it's still not working. Now what do you do? Do you just spin in circles and like this happens so often? Or like Anton earlier with the rendering issue, trying and trying and trying, and the like nothing you find is solving the issue. As much as we need to learn things on our own and take control of our journey, the next thing is we need to be able to ask for help. Always take the chance to ask for help when you need it. Now, when you ask for help, the big thing is, honestly, just make sure that you at least tried yourself first. You should never use people as your personal Google. That's a big thing that I've seen a lot through my time in the animation industry. Is I've seen lots of people who go around and the moment they run into a problem, it's just turn around and, hey, can you solve this for me? Which is not always a bad thing, especially when you're first starting out. But you need to take those steps to at least try yourself. Look for the information first. If you can't find it, then ask for help. Now, the big thing is asking for help is super important. When you look at films and you look at all of these great animators, let's say, for example, you're looking at Raya and the Last Dragon and you see all of these wonderful shots and it's just like, wow, how did they animate that? It's just gorgeous. Every animator who worked on there didn't do that shot alone. They worked with the storyboard team, with the layout team, with the previs team, with the simulation team, with their directors and their supervisors and their leads and their co-workers to get that shot where it is. They did not do it on their own. It wasn't a single person just doing this alone. They ask for help. They ask for clarification. They seek other people to help them. That is a good thing. It is what's going to make you a better animator, better artist in general, is getting feedback, asking for help, asking questions. As long as you take the steps to be active in trying to solve it first, that's the important bit. So in this case, Cobra, if you have a link, we can take a look at it. But if you've copied the animation from one arm to the other and it's still looking weird, most likely it's something in the body. Either in the hips or the body, something isn't cycling correctly and it's throwing off the timing of one of the arms and just pushing the arc off a little bit. It could also be an optical illusion. So if you're looking at it from a 3/4 view, so let's say you're animating a run like this, even if you copy the animation 1-to-1 from the arms, at a 3/4 view, it's gonna look different. It's gonna feel different. So you kind of have to animate each arm kind of separately, so that they're equally appealing from that one angle. So it could be one of those. Most likely it's the chest, the clavicles. The clavicles would be a big one, so try to copy those over. Or even the hips. The hip rotation could throw a wrench into it. I'm watching it from straight above. Okay, so if you're watching it from straight above, most likely it's the clavicles or the chest rotation. That's going to be the biggest thing. So look for any inconsistencies in there. The graph editor can be very helpful for that. Just kind of getting an idea of how it's cycling and if both sides kind of, for example, let's say here, go to my desktop. We're going to use a head turn, for example. If I wanted to make a symmetrical head turn, so I could set a key here. Let's have her look over to the side and then look over to the other side here. If I just look at the curve, yeah, it looks pretty good. But if I zoom in here and really pay attention, you'll notice that, and of course my values are missing. Let's do this. I'll do this in another scene here. So my graph editor just screwed up there. So we'll just use this sphere, do the same thing. So set a key, rotate, and then rotate. So same thing. But if I look in here, you'll see that my value, rotate Y, is going down to a value of negative 92. And then this one, if I just kind of put it up here, let's kind of get it close enough. It looks similar, but it's not quite the same. So you just want to double check that these are close. It could be that the curve looks pretty similar, but it's actually offset slightly, or it could be even something like this, where it's offset and kind of weighed to one side more than the other. How do you pin the graph editor to the bottom of the main window? You just click and drag. So this is, you have to have Maya 2020 for this. If you have older versions of Maya, it doesn't support it, I don't believe. But you just click and drag and drop it where you want. So I could drop it right here, and then it'll just pin it to there, and there you go. And you can do that with any window anywhere. So for example, if I wanted the, let's see, what's a good one? Namespace editor, for some reason. I could dock that onto the side as well if I wanted. Always update to the latest Maya? No. Don't always update to the latest Maya. Wait 6 months before you update to the latest Maya. At least 6 months. And this goes with any program. When they update a program, you never know what's going to break and what bugs are going to be in there. So always... Oh, you can do it with 2018? Nice. Yeah, so there you go. Hey, Broken Tangent, thank you so much. And also, for anyone who doesn't know, Broken Tangent has an awesome Twitch channel. Check them out. They are really awesome. I haven't had a chance to jump into the stream for a while, but I'll have to do that because I know you were saying you were going to work on some cool new stuff the last time I was in there. I want to check that out. But yeah, just in terms of updating programs, always wait a little bit. I tend to recommend like at least 6 months just to make sure all the major bugs are out and you're not going to run into something horrible. With that said, sometimes for work you have to update. It's just they require it. In that case, fine. But if at all possible, just give it some time. It's not worth having to fight a program and figuring out, oh wait, it's just a bug and I can't do anything about it. My brother updated to my 2022 and already had a couple of bugs in 2 days. Yeah, there's a lot of bugs in 2022 that's just any time a big program like that updates, there's always going to be this weird like grace period where things are not going to work. I do the same with consoles. Yeah, consoles are the same thing. Like I like to wait at least 6 months because you never know. The first batch of consoles, sometimes they'll overheat, or there could be like with the Switch, they had the Joy-Con drift. With, what was it, the Xbox 360, it was just like they would overheat and melt. So yeah, it's, especially if you're using it for a class, you have to be very careful with that. Now let's actually keep going with the list of things here. So we talked about putting effort into learning yourself, but then don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback. That's super important. Another thing that is very important is embrace mistakes. Like honestly, one of the things that's going to make you learn way faster and just make you a better animator in general, you're going to enjoy your career a lot more, is embrace mistakes. Embrace not succeeding. Now, what that basically means is that you don't want to aim to make mistakes. We're always trying to do the best that we can. But as we are animating, we will make mistakes. When you're drawing, when you're doing all of this, you will make a mistake. It's bound to happen. When I'm animating, I make mistakes all the time. And it's one of the things that I like about showing the animation process on Twitch here, is that you get to see the mistakes and you get to see how I kind of approach fixing them. But mistakes will happen, they just will. So instead of fearing the mistakes, instead of trying to be perfect, and when we do make a mistake, hating it and just seeing it as a negative on yourself, embrace it. And yet, like Broken Tangent said, fail early and fail often. There's a few different reasons for that. The big one is, by failing early, you're going to learn faster. We learn from our mistakes. And honestly, like if you ever read into like AI and especially adaptive learning and all of these kind of new technologies on artificial intelligence, that's how they make really cool and really efficient artificial intelligences, is that they just put them through so many iterations where they fail and fail and fail and fail and fail until they're super smart and they succeed almost all the time. We're the same way. We learn through our failures. We learn by not succeeding first, and then we will know what to do. Now, let's kind of take an example of this. Let's say you're learning animation and you animate a shot. Let's say we're animating, well, since we might talk about head turns later. Let's say we're animating a head turn. Just a character turning their head and turning around. Okay. You animate it and it's perfect. It's just beautiful. It just looks absolutely wonderful. Okay, great. It looks great. Now, how did you do it? How did you make it succeed? How did you make it work? This is your first head turn you've ever animated. Maybe you've just started animating, you did this, and wow, it was fantastic. What did you do to make it look good? Can you repeat it? Can you redo that, but now give it a different feeling, like a different attitude, a different character to that head turn, and still make it as good? How? You don't even know how you did it in the first place. It just happened. When we just succeed right away, it feels great, and it's not a bad thing to make something great right off the bat. But the problem is, you're not going to know exactly what it took to get there. You're not going to understand what you had to do to make it work. It's just going to be there. When you fail, you're going to see something that doesn't work. And then you'll have to figure out what that is and how to avoid it. And by doing that, you learn two things. One, you learn what to avoid, what won't work, and then you learn what will work. And you know why. You understand the reasoning behind it. And this comes into active learning again. If you're just, oh, I made a mistake, let's try it again and hope for the best, that's not going to make you any better. But if you sit down and really think, okay, what went wrong? How can I make it better? That's where you're going to see improvement. And that is very, very important. We need to embrace those mistakes, because that's what's going to make us into better animators. Those mistakes have to happen. They will happen. So be very, I wouldn't say like, don't look, I actually look forward to mistakes at this point, but when you do make a mistake, don't see it as a failure. Don't see it as, I suck, I'm terrible, I don't know what I'm doing, I should just quit. It'll feel like that, honestly. Like, we will go through those moments. But instead, once you kind of work your way through there, kind of stand up, walk away, take a breather, come back, take it as, okay, now I'm going to learn. I'm going to make sure I don't repeat this mistake ever again. How do I do that? And now you're going to be a better animator for it. You're going to be a stronger animator. You're going to be a better artist. So embrace those mistakes. Learn from them. And kind of tied to that is, don't compare yourself to others. So this is where we will have mistakes, and then we'll look at someone else who is doing a shot and they are doing it beautifully. It is just wonderful. It looks great. It is just so appealing and amazing. And then you look back at yours and it's full of mistakes, and it's like, ugh, why should I even bother? Look at them. They're so good. That's so easy to do. I used to do this all the time when I was a student. I would constantly compare myself to others. That is bad. That is so, so bad for many different reasons. One is it's not fair, because a lot of times when we're looking at that person and their work is just phenomenal, it is amazing, we don't know how they got to that point. They might have been animating for 10 years before this point, and we're just starting out. Maybe they've never animated before, but maybe they've done drawing. Maybe they've done different artistic mediums. Maybe they've done other things that help them know how to make something appealing, even if it's in a different medium. That happens all the time. An example of this, which is a weird example, but it made me realize this point, was when Cameron and I visited Japan a few years ago. We randomly, just for some reason, ended up in a flower arrangement class, like to make bouquets and like Japanese flower arrangements. We had never done that before. We've never dealt with flowers before. And suddenly we were sat down and here's some flowers, make an arrangement. I was like, okay. Pick some pretty looking flowers. Great. Put them in a jar. Woo. And we had never done it before. But as we were putting the flowers in, we went, let's try to add some animation principles to this. So we made sure that the flowers and the different little leaves and whatnot that we were putting in, we looked at the spacing of it. So we made some close together and further apart, made an arc. So we were thinking spacing, arcs, silhouette, all the posing principles that come into animation, like all of that stuff. And we tried to apply it to flowers. And as the teacher who was kind of teaching this little workshop went through, she was giving critiques to everyone else and change this, change that. One person, she just like took their whole thing and cut it up, and it was so sad to see. And she just like tore it apart to make something new out of it. And when she got to Cameron and I, she went, good job. And she moved on. Now, does that mean that, look at us, we are master flower arrangers? No, not at all. Honestly, I'm kind of sad that she didn't tell us how to fix it, because we didn't really realize, again, this is you learn from your mistakes. We didn't know why we succeeded. And at the time, I kind of wish we had asked her, like, why does it work? Because we didn't understand why. It just ended up working. And so it's like, okay, yay, I'm happy. But again, it comes down to that we had some skills in different areas that allowed us to approach this and make it work. Whereas the other people didn't have that. It didn't make us better than them. We were starting out just like they were, but we had different backgrounds. The same goes for animation. You will see some people and they're just going to gravitate to animation, and it's going to be like second nature. They're just going to catch it right away. Does that mean that they're better than you? No. It means that they had different life experiences and they've experienced different things that help them understand certain concepts a little bit faster, or they've already understood these concepts, whereas you are learning them for the first time. That's not a bad thing. Everyone's along this journey at different parts. Like, someone might be a little further along, someone might be a little further back. You're all going to get there at the end. We're just there at different times. So don't compare yourself to others. It's just not healthy. It's not fair. Not to you, not to them, not to anyone. And it's just negative a lot of the time. And at least to me, when I compare myself to other people, it's how to put this? I'm not putting them in a good light. Instead of going, wow, they're amazing, I'm going, oh, I suck. Which, like, if I look at a wonderful piece of work, I should be promoting that instead of going, oh, poor me. That's being very selfish. Like that's just my mentality on it. Is I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to make it about me. I want to make it about them. They did an amazing job. They're epic. They are fantastic. That is amazing stuff that they're doing. It's not about me. Instead, I will use them as inspiration. I want to be that. I want to do it that way. I want to be that good someday. So you don't compare, you use it as inspiration. What you do compare, though, is yourself to yourself. Compare where you were last week. Compare where you were last month. See how you're improving. If you see that you're not improving, what are you doing wrong? What are you not understanding? Again, active learning. You have to study your own work to be able to know what's not working. So compare yourself to where you were. Even compare yourself to where you were yesterday. That's going to help you improve your work. And more often than not, even though you look at your work and you go, oh, it's terrible, I'm not getting it. If you compare it to where you were like 6 months ago, or even like a month ago, more than likely you've improved way more than you thought you did. And you've learned things that at the time you never would have thought you'd be able to do. That is progress. That is you're achieving your dream. So never compare yourself to others, only compare yourself to your previous self. So very, very important. And that took me a long time to learn. And once I did, I saw my learning kind of progress much, much faster. See my work on my progress reel. I see so many things that I've improved on over the past few courses that I am. Yeah, exactly. And that's the big thing. It's like when you look at your own previous work or like the way you saw things before, it's amazing how much you will have learned without even realizing it. So for example, when I was an animation mentor, I remember a moment in class 5 where I was working on my 2-character dialogue shot. And there was this moment where I was just kind of sitting there and went, wait, I remember being in class 1 and thinking, I will never be able to do a 2-character dialogue shot. I'm struggling with a bouncing ball. I can barely make this happen. And I'm seeing all of these students doing a 2-character dialogue shot and they make it look so easy. I'll never be able to do that. And I was in class 5 and it's like, wait a second. Old me didn't think I could do this. And here I am doing it. So was my work the best? No. There were definitely like students way, way, way better than me. But in comparison to my previous self, I was doing something that old me never thought was possible. That's huge. And now I look back at like that me from class 5, and it's like, oh, you know nothing. I've learned so much since then that what I thought I knew back then, I've improved on. I've become better. Have I become the best? No. There's still people way better than me, incredibly better than me. I'll never be the best. But in comparison to who I was and what I was, I'm better. I've learned. I've improved. So it's an upwards journey. How do you feel when you see our older animations and we think, how did I do it? I'll never be able to do it again. That actually happens sometimes as well. And again, this comes into that success thing. If we achieved a shot and it worked. I have a few shots where, like, I remember I have a dragon shot that I animated, and I animated the membranes on the wings, and it's like, I just did it and it worked. And I love that shot. But I look back on it, it's like, how did I do that? Could I do that again? I don't even know if I could do that again. I haven't tried, but I just look back on it, it's like, I don't know. And what ended up happening was I succeeded on that shot right away, and I didn't have to learn what did I do to make it work. It just worked. So even to this day, I look back on that shot and go, could I replicate that? I don't know. Because I don't know what went into making it succeed. So that happens. Everyone's got those shots where it just ended up working. And if there is something about that is like, okay, what did we do? We just have to study it. We have to analyze it. So I like those moments. Like, honestly, it's cool because it's like, wow, I didn't know I had it in me. But at the same time, it can be very frustrating when we look back and go, it is kind of, how to put this? It's deceptive. It makes you feel like I'm worse than I was. I've fallen down. No, you haven't. It's just that you randomly succeeded, which will happen. We will randomly succeed. It's just the odds. But then we can analyze that and figure out what succeeded. Why did it work? And we can do small tests to figure out, okay, can we replicate that? So, yeah. It is common. How long did it take you to get from the bouncy ball to two-person shot? Let's see. I never animated in Animation Mentor, so from my first bouncing ball to my first two-character shot was 12 months, a year. Yeah, about a year. To go from my very first bouncing ball to my very first two-character dialogue shot. And that's the start of each one. Let's see. There's a quote from the movie Seven. I think, to be a good man is not to be better than someone else, is to be better than the one we were the day before. Yeah, I totally agree with that. That is a wonderful quote. We don't want to be better than other people. Well, we might want to be better, but that's not a healthy way to look at things, and it's not a productive way of looking at things. As long as we're trying to be better than who we were, you're always going to be getting it better and better and better. See, I succeeded on the pendulum in AN01 and then couldn't figure out how to fix my squirrel tail later. Yeah, there you go. That automatic success honestly scares me more than failure. When I was a student, I loved it. It's like, yeah, I succeeded. Whoa, good grade. Yeah. But now, especially with experience, I kind of wish I had failed more. I actually honestly wish that I had failed at certain assignments so that I could have learned more from them. It just makes it better. And this is the same with a sculpting workshop I had just taken. I failed a lot in there. I would do something and I think it works great, and then I get a bunch of feedback and it's like, wow, I failed without realizing it, and now I know why. Now I know how to make it better and consistently better versus just hoping for the best. So yeah, big one there. I know we kind of spent a lot of time on that one, but it is a big one, and it's something that we need to embrace. I was watching Sir Wade's stream last week and decided to gift a sub to a user that stopped by to say hi. I found out later that he's your dad. Oh, nice. Yeah, he was actually telling me that someone gifted him a sub. That was the first time he's ever been gifted a sub. So thank you so much for doing that. That's awesome. That's so cool. He was super excited about it. I think it's actually his very first subscription too. So that was really awesome. It gives me the fear of, did I learn it or was I just lucky? Exactly. That was that is a very good way of putting it. So we talked about embracing mistakes, don't compare yourself to others, kind of on that. And this is more for people in workshops or in classes, is grades come in. Grades are kind of important, because they are what allow you to pass to the next class. And because of that, grades have what would be the right way to put this? There's a stigma to grades. Grades, when we're a student, we typically look at it as if I don't get good grades, I am failing. And this comes from the kind of binary way we're taught about school when we're growing up. When we're taught about school growing up, it's usually you're passing or you're failing. Pass, fail. If you're passing, good. If you're failing, bad. And That's our mentality on a lot of things. And especially in animation, that is true in a sense. If your grades are good, you're going to pass. If your grades are bad, you're going to fail. But grades are much more than that. And it's important, especially as an artist, to take these and kind of try to view them a little differently. Now, I will say, with that, with all, what I'm about to say, it's not going to change the fact that bad grades mean that you're going to fail, and it sucks. It really does. That doesn't make it better. But keep in mind that grades are not there as a punishment. They are not there to say, you're bad, you suck, ha ha, you don't deserve to be here. No, that's not what they are. Grades are your mentor telling you what you need to focus on. So let's take an example. Let's say you're taking body mechanics. You're in a body mechanics class and you're getting your grades. Well, if you're getting a grade of, let's say 5 is the top, wonderful, amazing work, no improvement needed. 1 is the lowest grade. If you're getting a 5, that means you've got a full understanding of what this topic is. You're good. If you're getting a 4, it usually means that you've got a great understanding of what this topic is. You've got a great understanding of body mechanics. What you're missing is the higher elements of it. So the more complicated, nuanced little ticks and tricks. So for example, if you're doing, let's say a weight shift, getting a little bit of the jiggle in the body, like the little subtleties in there, but you've got the core of the body mechanics, you've got a good understanding of it. If you've got a 3, it usually means that you've got kind of a good student understanding of it. You're getting it, but you need to just apply a little bit more work into understanding the topic of the lesson, the body mechanics. If you're getting below that, let's say a 2, it means that you're not understanding the core of what this lesson is teaching you, body mechanics. Now, why is that helpful? Well, that's helpful because it's focusing you on what you should be putting your time into. If you're getting 4s and 5s, start looking into more complex things. It means that whatever you're doing is either too simple, or you can start to push yourself to that next level. If you're getting 3s, it means that you're getting a good understanding, but maybe just try to understand it a little bit better. Really try to dive into the nitty-gritty of whatever topic you're starting to learn. If you're getting 2s, it usually means that you are not understanding either the topic at hand or maybe some of the principles that are applying into it. So again, it sucks when a grade is low. It really does. But instead of looking at it as I'm a failure and I suck and everyone like thinks, or my mentor doesn't like me or something like that, think of it as, okay, what do I need to focus on? What am I missing here? If you're getting a 2, you should not be, let's say in body mechanics, you shouldn't be working on acting and all of these bigger concepts. You should be focusing on, okay, let's just try to understand body mechanics. How does the body work? How does the animation work? What are the principles I am using to make this function? So use them as a guide for your learning. If you are just looking at a grade and going, I got a 2, darn it, oh no, I suck. Again, this comes into active learning. What have you taken away from that grade? Okay, you suck. Technically, as animators, that never goes away. You could get a 5 on your grades and still go, I suck. My animation isn't good. It's not Glen Keane level. Darn it. Like, we're our worst critics on our own work. So a good grade is not going to make you feel happier about your work. Honestly, I've seen students who have amazing grades, where their grades are like just spotless, and they hate their work. They hate their work so much. They cannot stand to look at their work. That never goes away. A good grade's not going to make you happy about your work. Understanding the grade is going to make you happy about your work. Paying attention to the grade knowing what you need to focus on, and then applying that to improve your work. Then you can look back and be proud of, regardless of the grade, proud of your progress. So it's very important, very, very important to use those grades. And again, you're going to feel bad if you get a bad grade. It just happens. It's not, you can't avoid that. It's like when we make a mistake, we're going to feel bad about making a mistake, but don't let it just stop you. Let it push you to that next level, because that's what the point of it is. If we don't let it do that, we're missing out on what the whole point of the grades are. And then Roger, that's a great tip. I recommend watching mentors' feedback to your classmates. It'll help you a lot. Giving feedback to classmates is another great way to be active and learn from others' mistakes. Always watch your classmates' critiques. Also, just watch as many critiques as you can. You never know when you're going to learn something that someone else did. They made a mistake and the mentor's going to mention it. And then you look back on your work and go, oh, I did the same thing. I'll fix that too. Or you might watch someone's critique one week and then on your next assignment you're working on and go, oh, the mentor mentioned not to do this. I'll make sure I don't do it in my shot. Now your work is better. We can learn from others, not just from ourselves. Let's see. Getting the highest grade is weirdly enough not fun, since then you feel you aren't learning new stuff. Exactly. I've had, like, in the workshop that I was doing, I ended up getting some decent grades, but I was kind of sad whenever I would get a critique and there wasn't much to change, because it's like, I wanted to learn from my mistakes. I wanted, like, what did I do wrong? What could I make it better? Because I can see that it's not perfect. I can see that it's not great. But how can I push it? And I feel like sometimes if my work was just a little worse, I could have learned better in certain ways. So it's very important. Let's see. I can't pronounce that. Atichophobia, and I would have graded my own animation a 14 out of 20 max. I got a 20, but it feels empty, and I still think it's not good. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Let me actually Google that. I'm assuming like fear of failing. Yeah, so I think as artists, we tend to have a little bit of that in a lot of ways, as well as kind of just being a pessimist whenever it comes to our own work. We see ourselves negatively, and we don't see it how other people see it. So we're always going to be our worst critic. That's the unfortunate part of it, which sucks. But that kind of goes into another point, so we'll kind of segue into that. We're always going to be our worst critic. When you're looking at your own work, instead of looking at it as if it's your work, look at it as if it's your friend's work. Look at it like it's a coworker's shot. And this helped me a lot, because whenever I would look at my own work, my first instinct would be, it sucks. It's terrible. Just quit. Like that. That's my internal dialogue. Whenever I would look at my work, that's the things I would tell to myself. It doesn't look good. Why are you trying? I would look at my work and it's like, ugh, it's not appealing. It's just meh. That's the extent of what I would critique on myself. Now imagine you were to see someone else's work and say those same things to that person. That's just being a jerk. Like if someone came up to me and, hey, look at my shot, and I just went, it sucks. It's terrible. Why'd you even try that? It's like that. I'm just a jerk at that point. I'm a terrible person. So why would I do that to myself? Why is that fair? So instead, now, whenever I look at my shot, regardless of what it is, I will have that instinct of like, oh, it's just terrible. I still don't like my own work. But the first thing I try to go to is, if this was someone else's work, what would I tell them? What would I say about someone else? First, when I look at people's work, I always try to look for the positives in it. regardless of how many mistakes you've made, there's usually something good about it, some nugget of, yeah, that worked. So I'll look at my shot and I try to find something, yep, that works. I did a decent job on that. Next, I go into the negatives, but I don't just bash my work. I look for constructive criticism. Oh, the hips don't work too well, but how can it be better? So I'm not just putting it down, I'm trying to figure out what isn't working. Again, this comes to the active learning. By doing that and treating your work as if it was someone else's, you're going to have a better outlook on your own work. And again, you're going to start improving more because you are giving constructive criticism to yourself versus just punishing yourself. That is not good. Punishing yourself is not going to help anything. So let's see. On my first walk cycle with Stella, I got a 2, where something is bad. The next week was where I learned the most about walk cycles. Yeah, exactly. I remember some of the worst grades I got in Animation Mentor were some of the best learning experiences I ever had. I remember Cameron, one assignment, I don't know why this stands out. Maybe it was just his mentor was, Cameron got a mentor who was an ex-Marine. So you can imagine what his critiques were like. They were always fascinating. You learned a ton from them. But Cameron got a critique where the mentor just went in and went, nope, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You do this, this, this instead, and that's going to make it better. And Cameron applied those notes, and suddenly his shot was just so much better. It worked. It was dynamic. It was interesting. And not only did it become better, but we know why it became better. It's because he wasn't anticipating enough. He wasn't holding enough at a certain point. He wasn't pushing out of that pose fast enough. We know the exact reasons why that happened. So now we can replicate that and make sure it doesn't happen again, or that we can reproduce the success. So very, very important. Let's see. My only fear is that one day I won't be able to get a job in a studio. Honestly, that is a valid fear, especially depending on where you live. That can be a very real fear. I will say, with the state of animation the way it is, there's just more and more and more studios opening all the time. And there's a lot of there's so many resources available to us as animators. Like, we've got YouTube, we've got TikTok, we've got all of these just kind of Newgrounds and all of these kind of things to create our own work. We've got small studios, small game studios, we've got independent studios, apps. Like, there's so many things that use animation nowadays. I will say it can be hard to get into your dream studio. Definitely, that's a tricky thing, but it's not going to be an impossibility. With that, I would say that it's good to, how to say it, to let your dreams be free to change. So for example, your dream might be, I want to be in Pixar. I want to work at Pixar. That's the goal. I know a lot of people who had that goal when they were going through animation school. Some of my friends who had those dreams. And as they were going through and working on that goal, some of them were hired at different game studios. Some were hired at a small television studio. And they found that they were the happiest doing that. I know one person who, they never wanted to work in games. They only wanted to work in feature film, not television, feature film, Disney, DreamWorks, or Pixar. One of those three, nothing else. And on their way, they started working at a game studio, which they did not want to do. They did not want to ever animate for games. They loved game animation so much, they've never left. They just adore it. They never realized how much fun it could be. So it's keeping those options open is very important. And the fear of never getting hired, that's again another valid fear. As long as you're working and improving yourself, it'll happen. The amount of time it takes, that is frustrating and can be a very long time. But once again, like, just from personal experience, I know animators who, when they graduated, it took them just like 2 or 3 years of applying for work, just applying and applying and applying for years without getting any job offers, just getting rejection after rejection after rejection. But they kept working at it, and they kept improving themselves, and they kept looking for those opportunities. And now they're working at major studios. I think one of them is working for Disney right now. And it's gonna happen. As long as you don't quit, you're gonna do it. The thing that's gonna stop you is if you just stop and quit. And on your way there, be open to, again, different things. If no one's hiring, look for maybe doing some freelance work on smaller projects, doing some YouTube stuff, doing just random things to kind of put your name out there. Now let's see. There are some good questions here. Roger, you said it a few weeks ago, and it opened my mind so much I don't even know how to thank you enough for it. Oh, and Farocus, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the sub. Let's see. I hit play blast and watch as if it was my brother animating. I think nice things first, and then note down what he must change. Yeah, like for me, it opened my eyes as well, because I do the same thing. Like when I look at my shot, I try to envision if this was Cameron that did it. If Cameron worked on this, what would I tell him? Because I love Cameron's work. Whenever I see his work, it looks good to me. When I see my own work, it sucks. So I try to imagine, okay, this was Cameron's shot. What would I say? How could I give him that feedback? And it just makes a world of difference. It really does. And it really gets rid of that horrible negative voice that I think all of us have a little bit of, looking at our work and just going, it sucks. It's just terrible. Why am I doing this? That's one of the worst feelings. And when it starts to kind of creep in more and more and more, that's when burnout really starts to hit. And Cobra, who was the ex-Marine? It was Pete Paquette. I actually don't know where he's working right now. I kind of lost touch with him a little bit, but he was a really awesome guy, awesome mentor. Let's see, talking about studios, is it harder to get into a studio if I have to move, like different continent to work there? Yes and no. It's harder in the sense that a lot of studios, smaller ones, aren't really looking for people from outside of the country, just because it's either for a small project, or they don't want to have to deal with visas and all of that issues, or they might be getting tax breaks by hiring people locally. So for example, in Quebec, there's a lot of small studios that'll only hire people from Quebec, from Quebec, because they get a little tax break from hiring locally. So in that sense, yes, it's harder to get jobs from out of country or even out of province or state. With that said, for larger studios and like medium to larger studios, they want the best animators. They tend to look for people with the skills. So as long as you've got the skills for it, they'll hire you. Now, the tricky part is if you're trying to get hired in a different country, you have to deal with visas. And that's the tricky part, because you sometimes have to put the work into getting a visa yourself. And that just means talking with the embassies and like trying to figure all that out, which is kind of a pain, but it is possible. Let's see. Now that we're talking about animation careers, could you share about your freelance work? How many seconds of animation is expected for you to do on a weekly basis? From all the freelance work that I've done, there is no average that I can give you. Like sometimes it was, I forget the exact, what was it? Seconds of animation. For the last one, I haven't actually done freelance in a while. I've been doing a few other projects. Um, the last one I did, what was it? Per week, I had to do, can't remember now. Can't remember the last one. But anyway, without giving specifics, like sometimes the range is huge. Sometimes like it can be, what was the longest one the most that I think it was like 100 seconds in a week or something like that, which that was just like crank it out, just get the animation done. Other times it can be like 20 seconds in a week, other times even less. There's no estimate. It really depends on the quality of the production. What are they looking for? Are they just looking for a quick little animation that doesn't have much polish, or are they going like Pixar polish and they want all the little wrinkles and mouth motions and arcs in every facial feature? So there's not even an approximation. And I would be wary of studios that like go, hey, how many seconds of animation can you animate a week? Because there's no answer to that. We could all animate like 500 seconds a week if all the character has to do is go, yeah, and then that's it. Like, sure, yeah. Or if the character just has to slide across the screen, yeah, no problem. I can do 500 seconds in a week. Easy. If they want 500 seconds a week of polished Pixar animation, that's going to kill any animator. Even the best animator is going to die trying to get that done. So I wouldn't put a number on it personally. Instead, I would what's the best way to do that? There's no real great way to. This is the problem with freelance. There's always trouble like promoting yourself. It's really just your demo reel. Like honestly, all the positions I've done freelance for, it's never been like, oh, how many seconds can you work? It's just, what's your demo reel like? Okay, here you go. So just show the best quality animation you can get. That's really it. Do most people get hired after Animation Mentor, do extra work on the side, or is the class work enough? So do you mean like during the classes? I would say all of the best animators I've ever seen do extra work on the side. Now, this actually just depends on what do you mean by extra work on the side. So for example, when I was an Animation Mentor, or for any online schools, for example, you will have your Q&As with your mentor, you will have lectures to watch each week, and then you will have your assignment to do. And if you do all those three, that'll be your week to week. And that would be the, you could say the requirement. But for me, I don't see that as the requirement. I see that as the bare minimum, like just scraping by. To really learn animation is huge. Animation is everything. Like we can animate a pen, we can animate hair, we can animate a character talking, a character bouncing, we can animate hands and fingers and toes and shoulders and arms and all of this stuff, muscles. There's so much in animation that if you're just doing the bare minimum what something asks each week, one, it's just not going to cover enough. So regardless of how, like if, let's say I'm animating a ballet shot for my body mechanics, the lectures that are going to be in body mechanics are going to tell me about general body mechanics and how to approach them. Great. Is it going to tell me how to do a ballet shot? No. Because if it did, it would also have to tell me how to do every other type of shot that's absolutely possible, because we can animate anything. So it's not going to show me that. Otherwise, I'd be watching the lecture for like 3 years just to get all the body mechanics poured into my brain. Instead, I need to then go out and learn how to animate a ballet shot. I need to go out and find the resources. How do you animate a dance shot? How do you animate like to a rhythm? How do you ballet? What is ballet? What are the postures and stances of ballet? All of these things. So when I was in class 2 body mechanics, I animated a caber toss, which for anyone who doesn't know, it's this from the Scottish games where you throw basically a tree trunk, just a big tree, and try to flip it end over end. Usually I think they're about 20 feet long, or in meters that would be about 7 meters. So you're trying to flip this thing. And bare minimum, I could have watched the lectures and then just tried to animate them. But instead, Cameron and I went out and shot reference. We studied the rules of caber toss. We looked up just videos of people doing it. We studied and studied and studied all on that. And you could consider that doing extra because it's not part of the lecture, animate, and critique. But to me, that's what is required to animate that properly. Now, on top of that, you can do extra by going and talking to the community and like being active and giving feedback and all of that kind of stuff. So yes, that I would definitely recommend. That is not required, but it's just going to make it better. And honestly, once again, I have a hard time just calling it extra because to be a good animator, not only do we have to animate well, but we have to be able to give feedback. When you're working at a studio, you're working on a team, and someone might ask you to take a look at their shot and give some notes. So, hey, can you come over and just take a look at my shot? What do you think? If you don't know how to give feedback, no one's going to be asking you, and no one, like, that's going to be a big divide. To be a good animator, you want to be able to be part of the team and to be able to go, hey, if someone needs help, just ask me and I'll take a look and I'll give you some notes. So part of my weekly assignment, or my weekly tasks that I would give myself at Animation Mentor, is I would give feedback. I would give a ton of feedback, always giving feedback. That helped me learn how to give feedback, which also makes it easier for me to look at my own shot and figure out what's wrong, because I've learned how to get that critical eye and look at work and improve myself. So it is extra, but is building such a core fundamental animation skill that I don't consider it extra. I consider it just part of being a good animator. So I don't know if I really answered your question, but I would definitely say that the best animators I've seen are the ones that put the work into it, who didn't just stick with the bare minimum, but went and just learned what they had to and did what they had to. And Tektrakonis, oh, I'm glad that you want to be a teacher. I really enjoy teaching. It's something I never thought I'd do, ever. That was not in the cards for me. But it just kind of happened that Cameron and I gave so much feedback when we were at Animation Mentor that people just started coming to us for help and for feedback, and they knew that we could help them. And it just morphed into us teaching for the school. It was just a kind of just a weird progression. And that just came from giving feedback. Let's see, am I in Quebec? No, I'm in Manitoba, so in the center of Canada. Can you guide me on how to start to animate a wolf? The first thing is find a lot of reference. Just really study the reference. Figure out what makes a wolf walk differently than, for example, a bear or a cat. What makes it feel like a wolf, or even versus a dog. Wolves and dogs don't walk quite the same. Wolves are much bigger, and they will have a different stride to them. So learn all you can. Learn the anatomy of a wolf. Study all of it. Kind of like what I was talking about with the caber toss. Just study, study, study. That's the big thing. And then when you're animating the wolf, I would approach it in spline blocking, and I would approach the chest and the hips as two kind of separate things, just animated, kind of linked together. Kind of imagine like it's two people walking one behind the other, and you're animating each one separately, and then you just connect them together with the spine. That makes it just a little easier. Let's see, Gabriel. Tim Ingersoll said they do 5 seconds a week at DreamWorks. Yeah, so DreamWorks is 5 seconds a week. Other places I know have done like 20 seconds a week. There's no average, unfortunately. A little Danny, I'm working in a 15-second minimum in a series. Yeah, so I'm already feeling overwhelmed. I would love to do less so I could focus more on the quality. Yeah, that's the big thing. It's like sometimes you're going to be animating, and especially games, early on in games, those were just like you were pumping out animation, which is great because you learn how to animate fast, but you just don't get that nice polish. And Jim Copro, did I use a freelance job site? I used to when I first started out. So when this was years ago now, I would look at job sites. I don't know how many of them are still around, so all my links are out of date now. But nowadays I just have a network of people who look for jobs or who need animators, and I'll just jump back and forth with them. So I don't usually look for work in that sense. Let's see. Demos, my last mentor so far. Nice. I love Demos. He was actually my class 4 mentor. He was awesome. I loved him. Said that it was great that I was aiming for Pixar, because that's kind of aiming for the head, but expect to hit the neck, the chest. If you work your reel to work in Pixar, you're going to end up in a great place either way. Exactly. Yeah, that's a great advice there. And Gosblade, did I actually throw a tree? Yep. Cameron and I actually cut down a dead tree in our yard, and we used it to do a caber toss. It was the right length, so it was about 20 feet. The only problem was that it wasn't quite the right thickness. It was a little thinner, which is nice because it actually allowed us to work better with it. The only problem was it was in the middle of winter and the tree got covered in ice. So we were wearing gloves, and our gloves got covered in ice as well. And we were just like, it was slipping all the time. It was fun. It was a lot of fun just throwing around the tree, trying to get it to flip. Just by watching Prepro streamings, you've already doing more than what's expected. Exactly. Like even this is, you're going above and beyond. You're learning and you're being active with your learning. You are doing more than just, okay, I watched my lecture, done. I'm good. So things like this is extra. For me, it was attending extra Q&As when I was a student. It was having study groups, little things like that, but they add up. So definitely, like, to me, animation it's such a wide topic that we never stop learning. And especially when you're animating a shot, you just need to really find the things you need for that specific moment or time. Ask those questions. I'm usually not confident enough to give feedback and don't know how would people react to me just randomly giving feedback to them. Like, I'm nobody and I'm here giving feedback. How would you recommend building confidence for that kind of thing? That's a very valid point, especially like some of you might be in like class 1 or class 2. You're just starting out and it's like, I'm barely understanding animation right now. I'm just starting. How am I going to give feedback? So there's a few different things on that. One, so let's just talk about the confidence and the, like, are people actually looking for your feedback? Well, there's a few different things. One is, where are they posting the shot? So let's say you're an animation mentor and people are posting their work on the AM campus. They're all looking for feedback. When you're an animation mentor, and I'm assuming most online schools are like this, if someone's posting their work, it's posted with the intention of getting feedback. So if you see any work on there, you can critique it freely and, yep, it's good. That's the point. So don't feel bad of like, are they actually looking for feedback? I don't know. They are. That's the whole point of the campus. Now, on an online environment, this is trickier. So for example, if I see an animator on Twitch and they post a shot, I'm not going to go in and give them feedback on it, because most likely they are not looking for feedback unless they are specifically asking, I'm looking for any notes or something like that. If you're giving feedback on someone's work that they are posting and you're like, hey, look what I did, and you're, oh, really nice, but you know the spacing right here? That's just kind of a jerky move, because they're not asking for feedback. They're just looking to share their work. So instead, in kind of a public space, what you need to do is find either forums, or maybe like there's a Twitter page that's all about just people asking for feedback, or like a Reddit page, or an animation community like the Sir Wade Discord or the Pratt Bros Discord, or places where people post work for feedback. And you just go in there and you give people feedback, and then you know that they are looking for it. Don't start just giving feedback randomly online. Most people aren't looking for it, like on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and things like that. Now, in terms of building confidence for giving feedback and whether it's helpful or not, that just comes with practice. The more you do, the better you'll become at it. At first, it's going to be tricky, but even feedback like where you ideally feedback should be giving a note of something that doesn't work and giving a potential solution. So, oh, the hips are not working quite there. It looks like the spacing might be a little off. Maybe try to ease in a little bit more, something like that. But what if you don't know? Especially, again, class 1, class 2, you're just starting out. You're looking at someone's shot and so, yeah, I don't know how to make it better. But maybe you feel that something's off. So you're looking at it, it's like, I don't know what it is, but something feels wrong with the hips. Between frame 20 and 30 is just something feels weightless, or like you just try to put a word to it, or it just feels weird. That's a helpful note. It might not give a specific, but it at least allows the person to focus on that point and kind of go, okay, what's doing this? And lets them start asking questions. So eventually you want to progress past those types of notes, but that's okay to start with. That's still feedback. So it's just the confidence part just comes with doing it more and more and more. The other part is when we're giving feedback, we often are afraid that the feedback is going to be wrong, or that we're going to lead them down the wrong path. But keep in mind that feedback is an opinion. That's what it is. In my opinion, the hips look a little weird from this frame to this frame. That's essentially what we're saying. It doesn't mean that it's the absolute truth and they must follow our notes to the letter. Part of being an animator is that when we get feedback, we are the ones that choose whether we follow it or not. So if I give someone feedback, I should not expect them, you must follow my notes exactly because I said it, I am the god of animation, ha ha. No, not at all. It's their shot. If they try it and it doesn't work, they don't have to apply it. Or if they don't want to apply it in general, they don't have to. So you don't have to worry about that. It is up to them to choose whether they follow your feedback. And if you notice that you're giving feedback to the same person, they're never applying it, well, you can move on to someone else. That's part of the process. So yeah, it takes time, and it's never a bad thing. Giving feedback when it's asked for in the proper channels is always appreciated. It really is. So hopefully that answers your question there. You gave me the strength to keep going forward when I had a hard time. Oh, I'm glad that I was able to help. I was the worst of my class and thought animation wasn't for me, and now I cannot see myself doing anything else in my life. That's awesome. I love everything about animation. I live and breathe it 24/7. That is fantastic. That is so cool. I'm glad that I was able to help along that journey. Because you do good work. I remember your shots. They were really nice. So I'm glad that you've been able to push through and keep going with it. And this is actually something I've seen a lot over the years and this kind of just, for anyone who's starting out, you will have times when you feel like, this is not for me. I just want to quit. I'm not good enough for this. I've had that feeling. I know lots of people have had that feeling. try to push through it. Or at least ask yourself, do you really hate this? So, for example, maybe animation isn't for you. It's not a bad thing to try it and go, yeah, no, I just don't like it. I'm not happy when I'm animating. But there's a difference between not being happy when you're animating one specific shot, or I'm not happy at the moment, versus I really just don't like animation, period. For me, there are many times when I look back and it's like I just wanted to quit. I hated working on the one shot. I just felt I wasn't a good animator. I was so ready to quit. But then I would look kind of at animation as a whole, and it's like, I just love animation so much. I love it. It's so much fun. I can't see myself doing anything else. I want to animate. I want to do this. So I push through. And that's very hard sometimes. It really is. But always try to differentiate that in the moment wanting to quit versus not enjoying the entire process whatsoever. And always feel free to ask or talk to someone about it. Talking with people is very good. And if you're an AM, there's so many people you can talk to. Let's see. I saw the reference on Animation Mentor. I guess you guys teaching how to analyze the reference of it. Oh yeah. I forgot we did a demo with that reference. That was a fun reference to shoot. Let's see. How do I know what curves that should be flipped on the other side of a character? It just seems that it's not always the case. It really depends on the rig, honestly. Not all the curves will get flipped. Usually it's the opposite rotations. So for example, if you're doing a walk and the arms are doing this, you're not going to flip the curve, the animation curves that are moving the arm forward and back, because it's not really flipping, it's just an offset. So if I'm doing this at the beginning and then it comes through here, if I flip it, my arm's going to go back like this way up here. That's not correct. I'm just doing this. So I would just offset those curves. Whereas if I have a head look this way and then I want it to turn this way, I could copy the curve and flip it, and that would mirror it. There's so many variations. It really is just kind of going through each attribute and thinking through it. What is that attribute doing? Which way is it rotating? And should it flip? So for example, let's take the rotate Y of the arm, this rotation here. My hand is this way on one side. If I just copy that over, that would put my other hand like that. That's not right. I would want to mirror it, so whoop, it's mirrored. So some will be mirrored, some will be offset. So again, this rotation, that's not mirrored, or else you're going to get, instead of going up like this, you're going to get this, like way back here instead of forward. So that's offset. But then others, like the, which rotation would it be? If I was to copy rotation, let's say we'll stick with the arms. If you copy the rotation of the shoulder, like this rotation here, like that might not be needed to mirror, because most rigs, when I rotate in one direction, they go like this. So both arms are rotating the same value, even though they're technically kind of going in, like this one's going up this way, the other one's going that way. It's the same rotation. So it's not going to need to be mirrored. Hopefully that makes sense. Without showing it on a rig, it's kind of hard to explain. But every rig is different too, so you have to be careful with it. Let's see. We are experienced viewers of animation. We know what looks good and what doesn't. So we may not have the eye of an alumni or someone in class 6. Our feedback is still valid. Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. We know what looks good, what's appealing, what we like, what we don't. We can just say that, like, oh, the animation looks great, but this section here, there's just something about it that feels bland, that feels, it's just not as interesting, or it kind of feels jittery. I lose focus. Notes like that, again, they're not solutions, but it's still going to be super helpful to the person. Yeah, 11 Second Club is a pretty good place to post feedback. Yeah, that's a good place too. Let's see, is there a place where you find character animation remote work? There's a lot of websites that you can go to. So, although for remote work specifically, unfortunately not. You just kind of have to look for a lot of different studios and just see if they're looking for remote. There's no like one specific place that's only for remote work. What is the project you worked on that you remembered the best? Oh, that's a good question. Worked on a lot of different small projects, and they're all fun in their own way. The one I remember the best... Which one? I would say it was probably working on some fight animations and just dealing with the choreography of it all. That was really fun. Just kind of trying to understand how the movement with the camera would work and how the characters would move through that. There was just something about it that was really interesting. I really like animating subtle stuff too. There's just something about getting like a really subtle motion where a character's not doing much. They're just maybe sitting there and then they have a little turn and you get that emotional like beat in there. I love those types of moments. I do want to do more cartoony stuff, but I tend to get cast with more subtle stuff. So I do that a lot more, it seems. And I like it too, so it works out. And Mirvali, thank you so much for the raid. Thank you so much. And hello, new people. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. So we're actually just answering random animation questions. Just kind of going over a few different animation topics. That's what the goal of these streams are, is all about like animation. What is it? What do you want to know about it? Any demos or tips and tricks that you want to see? I'm always happy to open up Maya and do some demos in there if anyone wants. Right now we're just kind of talking about ways of being active learners with animation, how to improve ourselves as animators kind of globally. And this is things that I've kind of learned over the years teaching at Animation Mentor, and as a student who also went through Animation Mentor, things that helped me a lot. See, how do I copy a pose from one Stuart rig to another? I have 6 poses from ANO1 on 6 separate Stuarts, but I want to make an animation with all of those poses on one rig. That's a really good question. So there's a few different ways you can do that. The built-in Maya method would be to use the Atom tool, and that you can basically export the animation. So you would set a key on the Stuart rig, export the animation, import it into the new scene, append it at the end, and you do that over and over. That could work really well, but the problem with that is that tool is not so much built for transferring like animation from 6 shots into one, or specifically poses especially. It's more for one shot and then just copying it over onto another and you're good. So instead, what I would recommend, it's not status line, I want to bring back the shelf. Let's see. Oh, dang it, I don't have it installed. So I have a link here for you, which is Studio Library. This is going to be your best friend. It's actually, if you're an Animation Mentor, you can find the link in the Animation Mentor resources as well. But this is basically a studio library. It's a a library of poses that you can use in your shots and also create your own and save poses from one scene and bring them into another. So you could just go through each one of your scenes, save the pose from each scene into the studio library, go into your final scene, and then just apply them on frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or however you want to do it, and you're good. And then you've got them for future poses if you want, or just kind of, you can delete them if you want afterwards. It is great. It's also free. which is fantastic. And a lot of studios use this plugin as well. So highly recommend getting it. It's really powerful. So yeah, I would just use that. So again, you just go into your shot, open up Studio Library, select all the controls, and you basically just hit create new pose. It'll save it out, and then you rinse repeat for all the different shots, and you're good. Hopefully that helps. And I'll have to get that installed again because I reset my Maya preferences and I forgot to reinstall that one. It's definitely a lot easier than trying to copy the animation from one to the next. That's just kind of a pain. So let's go back here. I like that blue Hagobo. That's cute. I really like that. Let's see. What's the shot you're most proud of? Oh, that's shot I'm most proud of. Well, the true answer to that, unfortunately, like this is again just me mentally, is I'm not really proud of any shots that I've ever worked on. I appreciate the work that I put into it. I can see the good in certain ones, but I have a hard time liking my own work. That's me. With that said, if I had to pick one that I felt like succeeded the most, oddly enough, it's one of my early shots. So it's not the best animation. It's actually on my demo reel, which is an old demo reel. It's so outdated. But it's a shot I did for the Creatures workshop at Animation Mentor, which is a dragon flying down and then landing. I just really like that shot. For as much as I like my own shots, there's something about that I feel it worked out and I like it. It feels dynamic to me. Even though there's a lot of things now I look back on, it's like it could have been better in a lot of different ways. I'm proud of what I was able to do at that time, especially. So, if I had to pick one, that would probably be the one that stands out to me. Like whenever I think, okay, an animation that worked out, that's usually the first one for some reason that pops in my head. And let's see. What's the best way to exercise to learn and master body mechanics? To learn and master body mechanics, there's not one exercise because body mechanics is everything. It's how we move. For example, a head turn is body mechanics. An arm raise is body mechanics. A complex jig is body mechanics. All of these is body mechanics. So there's no like mastering body mechanics with one exercise. What it is studying and analyzing and learning how does the body move and understanding what you can do regardless of animation that will allow you to make it feel natural. So for example, understanding sympathetic action. If I raise my arm here, it moves the entire body. So let's see if I'll do this arm here. See how if I raise this arm, especially when I'm really stretching up, look at that shoulder here. See how it moves? I'm gonna try to keep it still. So keep it still, keep it still, keep it still. As I reach up here and start to stretch, see how that whole shoulder gets pulled in? That's sympathetic motion. We're all connected. Everything is connected. Even a head turn. If you turn enough, it's going to start affecting many other parts of your body. So that's part of it. And you start analyzing your references, analyzing how things move to get an idea of how to create that naturalistic motion. It's also trying to really understand posing. Body mechanics at its core is a bunch of really good poses linked together with more good poses. That's animation in general. So you need to understand your posing. What makes a good pose? The line of action, the silhouette, the contrapposto, the twist, all of these different things. So to understand or to make good body mechanics, doing pose tests are fantastic ways of improving that. really understanding your fundamentals, because everything in body mechanics in terms of the animation side of it comes down to making sure you understand timing and spacing, ease in and out, all of those things. So there's no one exercise that's going to make you good at body mechanics. It's the study of, just pick something that you want to animate. So a character doing a caber toss, a character doing a dance, a character just walking even, and try to understand how the fundamentals of animation, the 12 principles, go into the motions, understand the posing that goes into each key and every frame that you want to put in, and really how all of that ties in together. That's what's going to make you really get that body mechanics in there. Hopefully that makes sense. If there's anything specific you want to know on that, definitely let me know. But it's there, and this kind of goes for animation in general. There's usually no like one thing. This was actually something when I was a student, I had a hunt for the one workflow that's going to make me a good animator. If I could just learn this one workflow, like, do you animate in stepped first and then go into splines? Do you work in just splines? Do you work in layered? What's the workflow? What is the way? How do you approach animation that's just going to make every animation succeed? And the honest answer is that there isn't one. There just isn't. It all comes down to personal preference and what's going to work best for that one specific scene. That's it. So it's better to learn a lot of different things so that you can have like a lot of different workflows, so you can apply them in a lot of different ways versus just trying to learn one workflow. Body mechanics is similar. There's no one body mechanics, so it's good to do lots of small tests versus one big test, and just do a lot of different little things and try to understand each one. And eventually what you'll do is you'll find the connecting threads, how they all link together, and create something new out of it. How to push yourself as an experienced animator to learn and become better. I find it hard to get to that more advanced knowledge. Master study. That's honestly, that's the thing that's helped me the most, is as animators, it can be hard to know what to do next. Especially like you reach a level and like you were saying, like you're an experienced animator, you've gotten to this point, you're applying all the fundamentals, you're getting good poses, everything is there. But how do you go from there to there now? Like, what else do you add in? And a lot of times there is no answer to this because it depends on what the feeling you want to go for. So for example, are you animating something in a Hotel T, very cartoony style, Warner Brothers style, Pixar, DreamWorks style, or Disney style, or maybe something else entirely, a Spider-Verse style? Are you going for realism versus extreme cartoony? What kind of expressions are you going for? So there's no one answer, but what you can do is once you understand where you want to go with it, so maybe I want to do more of a Disney style, start studying Disney films and see what they do that you haven't done yet. So I'm actually going to give a website if for anyone who wants to do master studies. Ideally, what I would recommend is finding the film and just like putting it on your computer. Like you buy the film and put it on your computer and then analyze it there, because then you can pick any scene you want. But for those of you who just want to do some quick analysis, this website here, Sakuga Boru, is fantastic. It's basically a compilation of clips. It started off as just clips from anime, but now it's clips from TV shows. So for example, you've got Steven Universe right here. Let's see. I think they had just uploaded some stuff from, what was it? I think it was a Disney film. There's so many clips now. Like there's 5,000 pages on here. Like they've got this one. I think this is, I forget what cartoon that is. Feels like I've seen it before. Oh yeah, Popeye. That's what they uploaded. They uploaded some clips from like Popeye, or what was it called? This Sinbad movie of Popeye. But you can go in here and let's pick a film. Let's go Okay, well, let's go Popeye here, since I was just talking about that. So this is Popeye. Maybe we're trying to animate in a Popeye style and really kind of get that feeling in there. Well, find a clip and study it. So what do they do that makes it work and makes it interesting? Now, Popeye is kind of old, and maybe some of the principles we would do a little differently, but again, it all depends on the style. Maybe we really want to capture this feeling. So you can just frame through this here. You can actually get a plugin for Chrome. Just look up Sakuga plugin, and you'll find it allows you to frame by frame right in here. So I can just frame through here and kind of see what are they doing. So he brings up his foot here. How is it moving? It's kind of linear, actually. They're not really pushing too many of the arcs. He holds, and then, oh, we've got that foot leading the action. And then look at that lamp. See how it stretches? This is like a gold lamp. Or is it a gold lamp? No, it's a chicken. Never mind. So it's a chicken. And he just presses down, and you can see how it folds first before it pops up into the air. Then as it goes through, it just hovers through, and then he kicks it. We can analyze that. Now, let's say Popeye, it's kind of, maybe the animation isn't as like refined as we want. We want something like, I want to learn how to polish really well. Well, let's find something that's really well polished. I'm trying to think of a good cartoon. Now, the problem with this, for anyone who wants to use this website, it's only 2D cartoons. There's no CG. So you're not going to find like Zootopia or Wreck-It Ralph on here, I don't think. What's a good show with a lot of good polish? Oh, I was looking for something on here just a while ago. What was it? What would be a good one? Well, I know. How about we'll look Full Metal Alchemist. So I want to maybe learn how to do a fight scene and where I can add some polish. So let's see here. What's a good fight scene clip? I remember seeing one a while back. Okay, maybe something like this. So let's say we want to figure out how we can really push that, like see how dynamic it is. Well, we can go through and once again study. So we can see that a lot of it is just holding. It's a moving hold. The character comes down, and look at this. Look how fast he reacts here. So we'll look at the guy in the back here in the green. He comes down, his hand is coming down, it's animated on 2s, and then in one frame, see here, his hand's coming down, one frame, the whole hand pops up and the whole body starts to move. Now, how do they avoid that feeling like a pop? Well, there's 2 ways. One is this leg here doesn't move. Not really. It kind of stays in the same spot. The other is that even though if you look at both hands, there's this big pop. One's low and they do this chunk motion where one hand's down here, one's up here, and then in one frame, you get that big change. Even the foot, big change in the foot. The head doesn't have a big change. It's moving, but it's still within the same kind of area that the head was in before. What this does is because we're looking at the head, it stands out. It's the one thing that's kind of white compared to all the green, and brown over top. Even though everything else is moving quickly around it, we are focused on the face. And then from there, it eases out before comes through. And look at that. Look at that pop. Like how it goes from this pose here. That's 1 frame, 2 frames, 3 frames. Is holding for 3 frames. And then that hand is like way into the camera. And then it's animated on 1s. And it just holds before in 1 frame goes from here to here. So we start breaking this down. It's we try to figure out, okay, why does it work? Why is this reading well here? So for example, why does this work, this big pop right here? They're using it as a cut. It's kind of cutting from one scene to the next. And then the way it reads properly is that they connect it. So as he's moving here, his head is moving screen right. And then even though it pauses, it's still moving screen right here. So it's moving screen right, screen right, screen right, screen right. They're not reversing it and then losing track. So even something like this, you can analyze and really start to understand, how do they do that? What are the little things that they're putting in that can make this work? And you would do this with whatever style that you want to achieve. So for example, you want to get a Wreck-It Ralph style or a Disney Pixar style, study those films. Look at the little details, and not just the main things, but like when they have an impact frame, how are they making that impact feel stronger? How do they exaggerate the timing, the spacing, all of these things? So I hope that answers the question. And if you have any other questions on that, definitely let me know. See, I'm deciding between going to iAnimate Game Workshop Intro or Class 1 right now. Do you possibly know what would be a comfortable level of animation? Would be to decide to skip the intro class? Honestly, I very rarely recommend people skip the intro class, ever, regardless of which program you're going. So if you're an Animation Mentor, iAnimate, Anim School, try not to skip the intro classes. Even if you have a good amount of experience with animation, those fundamentals are so important to everything that you're ever going to do. Everything builds up on there. If you're missing even one small thing of the fundamentals, everything else will suffer. And I know people who worked at Disney and other large studios who came to Animation Mentor just as like the studio was paying, so they're just going to take this as a course and like just as a refresher. And they went through Class 1, which is like, they're Disney animators, they're already working at a studio. And they took the class and it's like, oh, I didn't realize this about the fundamentals. Oh, that makes so much more sense. And it made their animations better. If you're missing even one little thing, it's going to make everything else better once you realize that. So again, I don't recommend skipping that typically. Now, if you do want to skip it, if you want to save money, or if you just feel like, yeah, I've got it, I understand it, what I would recommend is messaging the school itself. Send them your demo reel and just go, hey, where do you think I land on here? The reason for that is they know their program best. They'll know what is covered, what isn't, and where you should try to land in there that's going to help you the most. So I would just get in contact with the school personally, and they should have people who are more than happy to help you with whatever you need on that. Now, if you're going into a game workshop, I will say that Game Workshop Intro is probably going to be like right into body mechanics stuff, like probably slightly more advanced body mechanics stuff. So keep that in mind, that it's probably going to be a little bit more advanced in that sense. So hopefully that helps. And do you think Maya can import joint animation file in FBX to a rig? It can import and export FBX animation. If you're trying to copy it onto another rig, that's tricky. It depends on what the setup is like. You could maybe use the Atom transfer tool to do that, but I'm not sure. It would really depend on the setup of the rig. Do you find it hard to work on your own animations on stream? Sir Wade recently talked about how he found it hard with so many people watching, critiquing, and asking him questions to take him out of his flow state. I do. I will say I very much do find animating on stream is... I don't find it difficult, but I find it is very slow. so I animate way slower on stream. It always surprises me because I always set up a demo and it's like, oh, this is going to take a stream, maybe 2. And it ends up taking like 4 or 5 or 6 streams because my speed is like not even half of what it normally is. Part of that is because I like answering questions, so it slows me down when I'm answering questions. I talk about my process a lot, so I'm trying to explain okay, what am I thinking here? What am I looking for? So hopefully it kind of makes it so people understand what it is I'm trying to do. But because I'm doing that, it makes it less like just instinctual and natural and more kind of every step is explained. So I do find it harder in that sense, but I do enjoy it as well because hopefully it's helping someone. I'm actually thinking of trying to do a few streams, hopefully in the near future, where it's more just a concentration stream. We'll just play some music, like maybe turn up the music so it's a little louder, and I'm not going to watch the chat. I'll just animate and just like go full speed, turn off the chat on my end, and maybe like every so often take a break and jump into the chat just to see what's going on, but then jump back in and concentrate and see how that feels. See if I can kind of get into the animation groove that I normally get into when I'm animating on my own. Because you definitely, that flow state never happens on stream. You're never just kind of animating and like, okay, let's go, and you're just getting poses done. It's every step is slow, which it can be difficult because of that. Let's see, I haven't even started animating yet, so I'm looking for a miracle recipe to make it happen and get started. Oh, no worries. And it's not a stupid question. Like, that's actually a very good question. It's something I asked a lot when I was a student, is what's the secret? What's the recipe for success? And honestly, it's study. That's really what it is. That's what's going to make it happen. When in fact, it just comes from the blockage of being afraid of not getting there. No, and never feel like you have to apologize for a question. And this goes for everyone. That's the point of these streams. Like, everyone's here at a different levels. Some people haven't started. Other people might be really experienced, have been animating for years. Every question is valid. And your question, even though it might not seem, or it might seem silly, especially compared to other questions, like someone's asking about polish and how to get fine details, and I'm asking about how do I get started. Like, what a silly question. It isn't, because someone else might be wondering the exact same question, and your question might help them. This is actually something that I learned when I was an animation mentor. When I was in class 1, I was always afraid to ask questions because my questions are stupid. Of course someone else is going to know the answer to this. I'm the only one who doesn't. Like, I don't want to waste my mentor's time. I don't want to waste my classmates' time by asking this question. It's a stupid question. I'm not going to ask it. And then I remember, I think it was in week 4 of the class, I asked a question. I finally, like, okay, I'm going to ask a question. And I asked the question, and it, at least to me, it felt like it's such a stupid question. Like, why am I even asking this? I asked it, and a bunch of my classmates went, oh, yeah, I was wondering the same thing. And they just hadn't thought of asking the question. They had thought about it during the week and then forgot about it and didn't think to ask it in the Q&A. And it made me realize that, a lot of us all have the same questions. It's just we're either afraid of asking it, or we forget to ask it, or don't even realize that it's a question we should be asking. And that we're all here at different times. So it's a question is never bad. Like, an animation question is never going to be a bad question. It's a learning experience, and it's going to help you. It's going to help others. It's never a bad thing to ask. And it took me a long time to get over that, like, fear of asking questions. Let's see. So yeah, hopefully that helps. And always feel free to ask questions. And actually, there's a question here. What's it animating in twos? So animating in twos is when you don't animate every single frame. So let's actually open that link up again here. So animating on twos or animating on threes, basically what that term means is that you're holding a frame for a certain amount of time. Let's actually make this bigger, just so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so when we're typically animating in CG, we're animating normally in ones. Every single frame, the character is moving or something is changing. When you're animating 2D, to save time and to not have to put so many drawings, you'll be animating on twos or threes or sometimes even fours. Essentially what that means is, like right here, you can see how the camera moves. So that's frame 0 here, frame 1. See how the characters haven't moved? And then here, they move on frame 2, and then they don't move on frame 3. So on frame 2 and 3, it's the same pose. They're holding for 2 frames. That's animating on twos. So 4, they change, 5, they don't. 6, they change, 7, they don't. Every other frame, they're holding still. So that whole section there is animated on twos, on this guy. Now Edward here, he's animated on threes in one section. So right here, see how frame 8 he moves, 8, 9, 10, 11 he moves. So he held for 3 frames. That section was on threes. Now as we go through, like we were showing here, once we get here, now this character is animated on ones, where the character is moving every single frame. Even here, he's actually moving a little bit. This is on twos right there. And then that was on threes, so on. So it's just how much time you're holding each frame. Spider-Verse was animated in that way. And is that the principle of spacing? Yeah, not really. Spacing is how much space goes from one pose into the next. So are you easing in? Are you easing out? Are you slowing down? Are you speeding up? It's how much space is between each pose. So when we have motion here, for example here, the spacing would be like from the hand pose here to the hand pose here, and then the hand pose there. How much does it move? Whether that's on twos or threes, it's just the spacing between poses. So yeah, animating on twos and threes is a really fun experiment.